Well, the government has announced a review of the law covering stage hypnotism acts, as alarming reports of possible side effects dominate the headlines. Is there, as has been claimed, a real risk that simply taking part could damage your health? And what about hypnotism used for medical purposes? Are people at risk there as well? Well, we're joined by stage hypnotist Alex-Leroy and Professor David Marks from the Department of Health Psychology at Middlesex University. Thank you both very much indeed for coming in. Okay. Professor Marks, if I could start with you. I mean, how do these hypnotic acts, in your experience, work?
Well, you get a group of people very keen to participate coming up from the audience who obviously wish to be hypnotised and would like to have an enjoyable evening out and entertain themselves and their friends. And I would think that, roughly speaking, 95% of the time they're not actually hypnotised, but there is a risk, isn't there, of about 1 in 20 or so becoming hypnotised and being mixed up with all these other people that are out to have a good time.
And are they the people at risk, the ones who actually have genuinely gone into a trance?
Yes, I think they could be at risk if they are vulnerable at that particular time, have certain thoughts or feelings about events which
and why
relate up.
Why are they then at risk? Because obviously people are put under hypnosis, quite regularly for all sorts of reasons. Why are they at risk if they're in a trance?
Well, the vast majority of the time they would not be at risk if the person knew what they were doing, but there could be cases, perhaps 1 in 1,000, who knows, where they could be quite vulnerable to various things happening afterwards.
And are they not brought out of this trance, or not perhaps taken care of properly because the hypnotist thinks, that they're like the rest of them, just having a good time?
There isn't any real danger of people not being brought out of trances. It's more a case of people being given post-hypnotic suggestions, which they then act out. Now,
some of these, we've heard of a woman who died. It hasn't been proven that it was the hypnosis that did it, but symptoms such as headaches, depression.
It wasn't a hypnosis.
Well, hang on a second. Headaches, depression, panic attacks, and even the desire to commit suicide. Are those symptoms that you would expect from hypnosis for particularly vulnerable people?
Yes, if a person was already suicidal or very depressed and went up on stage and was given certain suggestions which triggered off even deeper emotions, then of course there could be an increased risk for those people.
Right. OK, well, Alex, your turn. You're a stage hypnotist. I mean, do you accept any of the professor's remarks there?
Not in the way that he's saying. There are dangers with stage hypnosis. There's dangers with comedy shows, there's dangers with music shows.
Except that in hypnosis, I mean, if you are hypnotised, you're sort of, if you like, out of control.
I don't believe that anyone, Paul McKenna, Andrew Newton, myself, I don't believe any hypnotist has ever hypnotised anybody. There is no such thing as hypnosis as...
So you're debunking your own profession?
Not in the way that this gentleman is trying to put it across. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis, it's cooperation. In two senses. You get the people that want to take part for the fun of it, that are not hypnotised. Hypnotised is a totally misleading word in itself. It comes from the Greek word meaning sleep. It's nothing to do with sleep.
So what do you do up there on stage? I mean, are your participants, as far as you're concerned, in a hypnotic trance?
Again, you come to everyone has this misconception of what a hypnotic trance is. Those people that I've got on stage are in a state where basically the only difference from the way you are now is that their eyes are closed, they're very relaxed. The only thing they're really concentrating on is perhaps the music or the sound of my voice. And basically, it removes some of the inhibitions.
So, I mean, is there a risk? I mean, these people, there's genuine concerns. This has been brought up in Parliament, there has been a death. Now, again, it hasn't been proved that it was linked to the show, but the people involved in investigating it believe that it has. No. These people have complained about feelings of suicide, depression and headaches. I mean, is there a risk as far as you're concerned?
For us, whether there's a risk, can I just point out that the coroner's report, Home Office report, all expert witness reports said initially it's hard not to rule out a link between hypnosis and the death of Sharon Taban. However, upon further examination, we've decided that unequivocally there is no link whatsoever to the hypnotic state, and Sharon Taban died of natural causes, inhaling her own vomit, which, from my own comment, is something that can happen quite easily through drinking too much, taking drugs and stress, the kind of stress that might be caused with a row with your own husband 2 hours before, which happened with Sharon.
Well, nonetheless, I mean, these accusations are being made, and it's damaging, isn't it, for your profession? I mean, would you like to see some perhaps tougher safeguards brought in to ensure that, you know, cowboy hypnotists aren't sort of going around the country doing these shows and perhaps possibly putting people at risk?
I certainly like to see the people out there who one day they were a plumber or whatever, and the next day they're a hypnotist because they read a Paul McKenna book, but out of business. And I'd like tighter guidelines laid down by the government whereby it does protect people. As far as it damaging the industry, I've found that since all this bad publicity, I'm getting more people going to my shows. It's down to personal choice. If people want to come to these shows, they will. If they want to take part, it's up to them.
Professor Marks, just a very briefly, last comment to you. Do you think there should be tougher guidelines?
Yes, I do. I think there are quite a few cowboys and cowgirls out there who do need some controls.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us.